Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the October 3rd meeting of the Select Board. I would like to call this meeting to order, and I ask you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will start with public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? All right, Stan, we can always count on you.
Stan Liver, 43 Stonecleve Road. Just want to send out my best wishes to our Deputy Town Manager, Dee Casey, and hope she recovers quickly and comes to rejoin us. We'll miss her. Dee, please come back quick.
Can we all wave to Dee and her dear mama
Yes.
watches all the time?
Hi, Dee.
Get well soon.
Heal up quick. Thank you, Stan. We are going to move on to our governmental report, and tonight...
Can I just say one thing and it's good at the beginning?
Sure.
I have to say a great deal of thanks to our town manager, who's famous in town for driving down 114 and seeing a lost dog running down the road in the pouring rain
Yes.
with buckets. So what did our town manager do? She did her job. She stepped in for the animal control officer, grabbed the dog, put it in the car, and brought it to the police station. And
In the pouring rain.
buckets, literally buckets.
While many people drove past the dog.
And on the police log, you could hear the dog's owner just crying with joy. But so thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Yes.
And I just want to make sure everyone caught it. At the end of the meeting, sometimes they don't catch it because they fall asleep, I think.
I smelled pretty bad the rest of the day, to be honest, but it was worth it.
What kind of dog?
It was like a mix, probably about 60 pounds, brindle. Yeah, big dog. Got right in my car. Much rather be in my car than on one wood. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Melissa.
No problem. Happy to.
Okay, so now we'll begin with our governmental reports, and tonight we have Luke Ralph with us, who we would like to recognize for his contributions to our the North Andover Housing Authority. So can you please come up, Luke, and tell us a little bit about what you've been doing for us.
So I built 5 picnic tables for the Housing Authority.
Nice.
Yes, and you did this just because you enjoy woodworking, right? And you wanted to give back to your community?
Yeah, exactly.
So we are really grateful. We work in conjunction with the North Andover Housing Authority, and we know that it has meant so much to all of the residents who have been able to use those picnic tables. So we are most appreciative and have a little certificate for you. Do you want to speak to? Okay.
Hi, I'm Maggie Cleary. I'm the director of the Housing Authority. I think it was spring 2020 when Luke first reached out to us. He had some extra time at home and was looking, I think, to hone his craft and asked if we would be interested in him donating his time and labor to build 2 picnic tables for our Housing Authority. We placed one at McCabe Court, one at Fultz Terrace, and they love them, and they got a ton of use that summer. 2021, they got a lot, and then, Luke was able to get us 3 more picnic tables, and they're definitely being used. We put one at family housing too, which the kids have been loving, so it was just great. We didn't reach out to Luke, he found us and wanted to give back to his community, so we just wanted to recognize that, so thank you for having him on the agenda.
Job, Luke. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Luke. I have a certificate here for you. I'll read it. In recognition of your generous donation of picnic tables to the town for use at our senior developments, your craftsmanship, dedication, and hard work in making this addition to our senior developments is greatly appreciated. Thank you on behalf of the town of North Andover, presented by the Select Board on October 3rd, 2022. So, thank you very much.
Can we get a picture of Luke with the board?
Yes, come on up.
It'd be great if we were sitting on one of your picnic tables.
I'll tell you, there's one way to get everyone around the table, isn't there? You figured it out. So good for you.
We haven't had to slide for a while. We're usually
I see some big smiling faces in the back of the room. Anybody you know?
Okay, we are moving on now to our new business where we will begin our interview of Town Council candidate Christine O'Connor. So, I hand that to you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so as you know, tonight the board will be interviewing Christine O'Connor. She can sit right at the table if she doesn't mind. Maybe we can all see her. Christine has a Juris Doctor from Suffolk University Law School, an MA from Boston College, and her bachelor's from University of Massachusetts Lowell. She was admitted to the bar in 1994 and has been with the City of Lowell in various different positions, from Assistant City Solicitor to First Assistant City Solicitor to City Solicitor since 1995. She also has vast other experience, and a lot of that actually is in historical backgrounds, so an interesting combination. Christine has been through quite the process here in town, interviewing, I think, 3 separate panels before you, but she met with Dee and our HR director. She met with myself and the superintendent of schools, and she also met with many of our senior staff to have a more informal conversation about work and life here in North Andover. And now we present her to you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. We are beginning with a little intro, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, so a 3-minute opening statement.
So we'd be happy to hear your 3-minute opening statement.
Well, first, thank you very much for having me here. Again, Christine O'Connor, and I have had a great couple of months getting to meet really everyone. I think just about on your management team, senior management team, and the thing that becomes apparent very quickly is the sense of teamwork, which is probably one of the strongest assets you can have in any community. And so it's an impressive thing to see. As the town manager had indicated, for the past 20 years, I've been in the position of city solicitor, and from that have been exposed to a wide variety of municipal issues, legal and otherwise. The law department in the city is perhaps a little untraditional, so we do represent the city in all matters of litigation. I've had a lot of experience in representing the city in federal court and in state superior court. Allegations of alleged civil rights violations, zoning, constitutional issues, elections, as well as administrative boards and commissions, MCAD, civil service, and the like. But the law department also, within our umbrella, we also oversee the city's elections department, workers' comp and 111F, as well as the billing for that, license commission, tax title, municipal hearing officer, contracts, and we serve as general counsel to the school department. So, that in and of itself is a very varied type of municipal experience that all of us really tend to enjoy. It keeps everything really interesting. Every day is different. And then there's also the things like, the example that we heard tonight of the seeing a dog on the side of the street and pulling over. There are those many things that make up the day-to-day experience of those dedicated to municipal work, something that I had never heard of when I was in law school, never in any way anticipated getting involved in. Did it while I was going through a very lengthy interview process in Boston, and almost immediately fell in love with it. And in fact, as the manager mentioned, part of my background is sort of historic preservation, and one of the very first cases I had in Lowell involved the preservation of a Catholic church that was a gorgeous architectural building that was legitimately a cathedral. And so anyway, it is a lot of varied work, but I will leave it at that and be happy to take any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Do you want me to begin? Sure.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Smedili. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for applying. My first question is, if the select board or school committee wanted to know your opinion on a certain legal matter, how would you present your thoughts?
Typically, for something like that, there would be a legal opinion in writing, and then followed up with a meeting. Now, in Lowell, I actually attend all of the city council meetings, and so there are discussions that sometimes take place right on the floor, but most of the time, even if that was the case, it would be followed up with a written legal opinion, and the same for the school committee.
Is it all right that I do a couple follow-ups?
Sure.
So when you say a written legal opinion, couple points I have. I'll start with the first one. Do you cite why your opinion, with other case law or anything like that, so that there's a pretty clear idea of why your opinion is what it is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm a big believer in, a lot of times you hear 3 different lawyers, 3 different opinions kind of thing, and it's one of my pet peeves. Most of the time there is a correct answer, and we all strive to get to that correct answer. That's why we go to court, and sometimes we don't easily reach that point. But I think, to the things that you've spoken to, when you go through the legal precedents and you're able to explain, all of the elements that back up that opinion, then most of the time you're really looking at, one solid answer. So.
Well, that kind of brings me to my next question, which is a little bit tricky. I don't mean it to be tricky, but when you're working in a building where you become friends and get to know all the people in the building, and they have an interest in a particular decision or a project, how do you handle that? Because you don't, it's hard when you're working with people and they kind of want a certain outcome. It's just human nature. It's everywhere. It's not town government. It's everywhere. How would you handle something like that? Your direct reports would be the Board of Select Board, and in the other case, to the school committee and the town manager, of course. So how would you handle that if what you were coming up with might be disappointing news or something different?
I mean, that's something that has happened many times over the years, and you are at times in that unfortunate position of delivering the disappointing news. But going back to my first answer, if the reasons are spelled out, I think that helps sort of with the delivery of that news. And generally speaking, there was an instance. This might help explain it a bit. The years and years ago, we had a city manager who was set for a raise that year. We were in a personnel subcommittee, and it was something that actually I wasn't quite expecting that it was going to come up. It did, and I had indicated that there was a bar to adjusting any salary at that particular time of the year. Asked for some time to put together that written report and explain it. I did, and so this was somebody that I worked with every single day, the city manager, and while it's not happy news, it is in fact disappointing news if you're not going to be getting your raise, but it was accepted, and so I hope that's helps clarify. How I would
clarify it. I
look
mean,
at it.
Sometimes for any of us, no matter what your profession is, it's difficult to sometimes give disappointing news, but news that is the truth. And you were doing your job, so I think you
Sure.
answered it well.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us about an experience in which you analyzed information and evaluated the results to choose the best course of action?
I don't know if I am fully following the question, but is there a way of just explaining it maybe one more time?
So I think it actually touches on a little bit on what you spoke about before. If you're compiling information and analyzing that, how do you use that? Like,
give us another real-life example, I guess, of where you took in all that information, then analyzed it, and chose the best course of action, so.
Okay, well, we had in Lowell an issue that became a very hotly contested issue, and that was Lowell had a high school that needed to be either rehabbed and have new construction and rehab, or have a completely new high school elsewhere. And during the course of this long process, there was a dispute between who got to pick the site. Was it the school committee, or was it the city council, or even arguably the school building committee? My opinion was that it was the city council, and went through methodically with the council, and then even individual members of the school committee that would then call me, and I would sort of walk them through all of these things. It actually resulted in litigation. Somebody on the school committee that I think very highly of contacted me and said, "I hope you're not offended, but I just have to move forward and challenge this in some way." To which I was, my view was absolutely, because even though I don't believe that I'm incorrect, if I was ever incorrect on that type of an issue, I'd want it to go through the paces. And so I don't know if that's exactly the kind of thing that you're talking about.
And that's a perfect example as we embark on a very long school renovation future.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you for that.
Sure.
Hey, Christine, so I'm next. So I'm Richard Malick, nice to meet you.
Hi, Richard. Nice to meet you,
Thank
too.
for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So you've already mentioned that you've met many of the senior staff, so
Yes.
you know that, we have a very high-achieving staff here, and, really proud of the work that they do, and, obviously their attention to detail and their thoroughness. So just maybe if you could tell us a little bit about, something that you've done that required, a significant attention to detail, thoroughness, some project in Lowell or something that you've worked on, and just, give us some details about that project and how you approached it and how you achieved what you were looking to do.
Sure. So, it's funny, there are so many. You have a town manager that also has a law degree, and it does help, I think, in terms of problem solving. So an example that I guess I could give is we were running into an instance where every time the city went out to bid for tow contracts, there would be disputes as to how they were done, and there wasn't really any competitive process that was involved in it. So myself and others in the law department got together and came up with a competitive process whereby those that were bidding on these tow contracts would include as part of their bid certain dollar amounts that they would be bringing back to the city as part of that contract. It was, and we have, the city was divided under this plan into sectors, and the most valuable sectors was given to those that had the most valuable bid, assuming everything else was in order. The National Towing Association had challenged it. It withstood judicial scrutiny in the appeals court. And today, not only do we use that and have never had that problem that we originally encountered winding up in litigation over, who was going to get a tow contract, but there are a number of communities now in Massachusetts that use that very same system and have contacted us and have adopted it as their own.
So the thoroughness of that process that you've developed and the detail is kind of, it's rock solid, so it's not challengeable, right?
Right,
Is it good?
right. So it was, and it withstood that scrutiny. Yeah.
Okay. And you have you don't have to give them all, but you have other examples of that as well, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think generally speaking, so much of what we do goes through that thoroughness period before you're able to come up with a means of moving forward.
Well, thank you.
Sure. Hi. Hi, Laura.
So, coming to North Andover, you'll be representing both the town side and the school side, so it's unique. You just mentioned the MSBA process that you went through with Lowell. So could you talk a little bit about how you would be a good fit for that role, to share both hats, sort of, and represent both sides?
Sure. So, even before becoming solicitor, a lot of my time, we don't really have, historically, we've never really had individuals that just get into these silos, and you really have experience that goes right across the board. But there are certain areas where you might wind up spending a lot of your time. And for me, one of those areas early on was the school department. And so I have worked on really countless issues with many school committees. I have assisted the school committee in its searches for superintendents, looking at policy issues such as should we institute a school uniform policy, to all of their contracts. In fact, one of the last things I did today before I left the office, I was working with the CFO on the school side, going through some different contract provisions, and she was in touch with me over issues with the school lunch funds. So the point of it is that I have many years of really detail-driven experience with the school department, and I think that I would hope that if I were to move into a position like this, that working with the school department would be a rather seamless transition, is what I would hope.
I know that, well, we have two members sitting in the audience too tonight.
Right behind you.
So I know that they lean on
Yeah.
town council a lot for labor council and contract negotiations, and it sounds like you've done a lot of that in Lowell as well.
I have. So, I've worked with a number of different departments. You're always working with your different municipal departments. Certainly one of those has been with the manager's office and the HR office in terms of negotiating contracts, and have often taken the lead in some of those negotiations. And on the school side, I have also at times filled in for the city manager as a member of the negotiating committee.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Back to you. Back to me. This is a highly visible position with the town and interfaces regularly with the select board, senior leadership of the town and schools and other stakeholders. Can you describe your experience and comfort level in such a highly visible role? Like, for example, you're on camera tonight, so and it continues on from there, but it is a highly visible role. Yeah. And frankly, just to make this statement, our public likes that. They like to see who works for the town. They do. They enjoy it. But
Sure. Yeah, it's very similar in Lowell. As I noted, I attend every single city council meeting, and often called on to speak at the meetings. And we've had our fair share over the years of different controversial types of matters that will come before the city council. And it's just something that I think I'm very accustomed to.
thank you.
So one of the things that I think our leadership team is really good at is creating relationships with each other, relationships with our residents. It's one of, I think, the things that we are proudest of around here, and for good reason. So I'm curious how you would go about building relationships with employees, with volunteers. Our town relies so heavily on volunteers. We couldn't function without all of the people who commit their time and energy. They're really important. So talk to me a little bit about how you would sort of facilitate those relationships, both on the town and school side.
Well, I can tell you, at least from my past experience, that we also have volunteers in the city. In fact, the law department has had the same husband and wife volunteer for probably over 10 years now, and that come and have helped us. We have a program whereby seniors can receive a discount on their taxes by taking advantage of those programs. So, but in terms of building relationships within our office, I had mentioned it's been fairly diverse over the years. We definitely make the time to go out and socialize and have fun, sort of team building types of events. One of the ones that we had done somewhat recently, just before the pandemic, was a trip out to Walden Pond. And we had a big group of us, and we were taken around by a guy named Richard Smith, who plays, not plays, but is a historical interpreter as Henry David Thoreau. So different things like that, I think, help with team building. If nothing else, it gives you a lot of laughs and things to think back on. But the working really on a day-to-day basis with other departments and coming to them with ideas and listening to their ideas and following up. I mean, there was an issue, for example, recently with somebody that I work with, and called me. Gave me a problem, and we talked about it, gave it some thought, and then over this weekend, I reached out with a potential solution. So I think again, communication that flows both ways, really listening to people is one of those team building types of things, and getting to know people.
I have to say this, I did not know they allowed for cruise ships on Walden Pond.
Cruise ships.
For a big gang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist, sorry.
Hey, Christine, thanks again. So you have an extensive resume here, lots of stuff, very impressive. So I'm sure you've worked on a lot of projects, and so this question will probably be a little bit difficult. Can you single out one project that you're really most proud of in your work that you've completed, and just kind of give us a little overview of it?
Sure. That's a great question. There have been lots of projects. I'll tell you, one of the ones that I just found particularly interesting is one that I had years and years ago, and it was when Massachusetts was first undergoing deregulation of electricity. Why I find it interesting, I don't know, but I do. And
I'm glad, because you will be facing it here.
and we got into, it was something that I was an assistant city solicitor at the time, so it goes back that many years, and I was working closely on a number of different projects with our then CFO, and it was something that I was tasked with, and I ended up spending some time taking some trips, day trips, I might add, to the Cape, where they were really sort of leading these efforts at deregulation, and so Lowell eventually, like a lot of other communities, went through that first process of securing a contract for supply services, and it was with Pico Energy. And Lowell was eventually featured on the cover of their shareholders manual, and we had basically negotiated the most competitive rate of any of their other end users, and it had all the protections for Lowell. So it was something that I really enjoyed, and I think it was something that was really successful.
Thank you.
Sure.
We like that. Good electrical rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question to you, Christine, is Lowell is a large city,
Yep.
and coming to North Andover as a town. I actually looked up the population to see how big Lowell was in comparison to North Andover, and I was actually surprised that North Andover is in the top 20% for population in the state. So I think we're a little bit bigger than we think. We have that, but we have that small town feel, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure you're going from a staff at Lowell, and you'll be one.
Yeah.
But you'll get all the support you can get.
Yeah.
But how do you, knowing that, spending so much time in Lowell and coming to North Andover, why do you think you're a good fit?
That it really just goes back to the municipal experience, and whether you're in a big town or a small town, whether it's the dog on the street or the more pressing issues of building a school, they are all of those things that go to making a community function. And every single one of them, in all various ways, brings their own level of importance. And Lowell has provided me with just a tremendous amount of that type of experience, from the small to the more in-depth, and I think that would, the same way that it would service me, I think it would service really anybody that has had an opportunity to have that type of experience, and then be able to impart it in any community that they work in.
And we all have kind of the same issues, right? We all face, no matter the town, we all have the same things that we face.
And I think like the pandemic is really a very good example of how we all face a lot of the same concerns, the same struggles, the same issues to overcome. And in Lowell, our city manager, actually, Lowell remained sort of fully, not fully, but staffed, and so the building never really shut down. And every community is going to go about it different, but there really was like a true commonality to the whole COVID experience for everybody. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any follow-up last minute?
No, other than
We
I
were
like
pretty
where you got your
thorough.
master's degree.
Yes.
My alma mater.
I knew you were going to comment on that.
I was going to make you sing for Boston, but I figured I don't remember the words anymore either. So.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming
Yes.
in.
Yes, thank you.
Sure thing. Sure thing. Thank you very much for having me.
We are going to move on to new business item B.
Madam Chair, do you want to take any action tonight?
Yes, sorry, that's
That's
not
okay.
my- Yes. We in agreement to take action tonight?
I'm fine.
So, knowing that, I will take a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's got such good experience with her tenure in Lowell that I think she'd be a great asset to the team. And I feel strongly about having in-house counsel. I think that as well as good as KP Law has been to us, I think it's an expensive route. And I think that there's a comfort level of having somebody in town hall. And you don't have to question whether you go and get that opinion. Like, do we pick up the phone, call KP Law? You can just go to our office. And I think that that's important. So that I would move that we appoint Christine O'Connor as town council through June 30th, 2023.
I'll second that, but I would like to make a comment on that. For me, all along that we have a fiscal responsibility to do our due diligence too, to see what, if we're using outside counsel, you can often get someone who's a specialist in that area, like an environmental lawyer, so forth and so on. But I feel as though, and I did ask for the town manager to get me the numbers as to what would be our all-in cost. And I'm comfortable with that number. I feel it's very competitive. And frankly, when you break it down to hourly, even with outside counsel, it's a bargain. So for me, that we owe that due diligence to the taxpayer. But having said that, and I've talked to Melissa about that, and I think we've talked about it too, when we do need outside counsel, we need to hire them. Not everybody knows everything about everything. If we have a big environmental project, we need an environmental attorney. And I do feel very strongly about that, because especially something like an environmental development agreement or rules, regulations, there's no way that everybody can keep up with it. And there's nothing more important than our environment, our air quality, our water quality, so forth and so on. So I still feel very strongly about that, but I think it's working together. I think the numbers, and again, asking our town manager to do an analysis of that, I think it's in, and we're doing some other changes that will also cut into the costs. And then, of course, the school committee finds it very helpful. So I think all of those pieces come together.
And I think honestly, with such a great candidate, it's,
it makes it
it would
easier.
be, it would be,
Yeah.
it would be a real benefit to our community.
And
So,
she comes with,
so much experience and
and she'll know her limitations too.
expertise.
Her expertise, yeah.
And I think a lot's been said already, so I won't repeat a lot of it, and a lot of good stuff has been said. And I think, I agree with Rosemary. I mean, we saw over the last few years where we had in-house town council that our legal fees actually were lower than prior to that. And, I don't think we lost any coverage or any kind of, anything there in doing that. And I think it provided someone in this corner office that was approachable and could give legal opinions without charging, $250 an hour or whatever the fee is, picking up the phone.
A little higher,
So
some of them.
some of them are higher, sure.
on the sheet
And
that we got.
having that combination of an in-house and the access to expertise in other fields is a great thing. I feel comfortable with bringing back an in-house attorney. I think it's something that, we tried a few years ago, and I think worked well for us. We've certainly kept our in-house counsel busy over the last few years with a lot of different initiatives going on, and so I think Christine will be just as busy and certainly earning her salary. Yes, I'm in favor.
I would agree with that. So, okay, so I have a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
It's very exciting.
It is.
When does she
So
start?
is there further negotiations or a start date and all
I
that?
think the start date will be in five weeks. 5 weeks.
Okay.
So.
Would you like to make the phone call?
She's like, thank you.
She's watching on YouTube. Yeah.
I almost,
I wanted to.
just wait a
I
minute.
know.
Yeah, just wait one minute.
It's always awkward.
Well, we're very excited to welcome her. She's going to be a great addition.
This is exciting for us. So.
It's on TV, as you pointed out,
Yeah.
so
Thank you,
she's
Carrie.
gotta know.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks,
So
Karen.
yes, thank you. Thank you for your.
Somebody else you've been keeping busy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie.
Me too.
That's right.
Oh,
That
I
should
love-
be part of the contract.
I'm going to have
Must
competition.
participate.
You are. She seems so well-read and well-written,
Yeah.
and
It's very interesting.
just an added bonus.
Me, her, and Jim Maley will be.
Things are getting, things are
It's gonna get
getting
heated.
really competitive.
Yep.
around here.
I'm starting
Great.
now. Yep.
Great. Okay, well, thank you all. So now we will move on to new business item B, where we are looking to, at the ARPA request for funding in the amount of $64,201.47 for radio encryption. So can you give us a little explanation on that?
Absolutely. This was actually a joint request that came in from the police and the fire department. And basically what it's doing is making sure that all of our radios, including the radios at the school, can all speak to each other. And so that's very important, especially because, as we all know, we do have several spots in town where cell phone service is not the best. So we want to make sure that all of our radios are on the same channel and able to have that communication back and forth. And so this will finish a radio encryption project that we have done over several years using grant funding, but we'll make certain that all of us are able to talk, which is important. So.
I have to ask this, and I don't know if you can answer, but like, what happens now if all of the radios can't talk?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult situation. They have to call on cell phones.
That seems,
Yeah.
it seems like this is a really worthwhile thing to
Yeah.
spend.
There were some dead zones, and
There
they
are.
have the repeaters, and
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know all. what
So
all
this
that
is really going to
You were
make
the
such
engineer, you
yeah.
could maybe
This
explain.
This is going to make it
No,
much
this
more
seems
streamlined, especially for school safety and for
Yes.
public safety.
Around the pond and the
Yeah.
lake, if somebody
Absolutely.
tips over and you can't get a call out because of the topography, that's
very
pretty
difficult.
scary.
So this is really going to be a huge safety enhancement. It's something that they've been mentoring for a while. So we're excited to be able to finish this project.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move the select board approve the request from the fire department to use $64,201.47 in ARPA funding for radio encryption.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
I
much.
think another great use of the funds,
It is
that
a-
brings a service to the community of safety.
Very important.
Infrastructure, right, all of
And in some ways, hopefully make their very challenging jobs a little bit easier.
And
And
it
certainly
really-
better service to
Yeah.
our.
It pivots well with the school security funding that we did earlier with this money. So I think it's nice to see all those projects come together.
Great. Item C is a request to extend the Summer Fitness Series until October 21st, 2022. They are going to be out there in the dark.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to make a comment. I'm going to recuse myself from this since it's coming in from my daughter-in-law's the request, so I'm going to recuse myself from the voting on
Okay,
this.
thank you, thank you.
I would move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, thank you.
I do hope they about a little bit more warm weather before October 21st.
I know, today was not a good
Chilly, okay,
indicator.
today, yeah.
Today was just a fluke. It was cold. It was chilly. Okay. Item D is to appoint a school committee representative to the school building committee. So we have one spot left to fill on the MSBA school building committee. We had concerns because we wanted someone who would be in it for as long as possible. So I'm happy to say that after a discussion with Mr. McDevitt today, he's agreed to serve on this committee through the end of his term on the school committee. We didn't want to have to replace anyone in a few months or down the road. So does anybody have questions, comments? We're really excited.
Yeah, it'll be a good group, and, it'll be a big collaboration effort to work on this big, very exciting project together with the school committee.
It's really important, right? And with the MSBA process, we just need to make it as smooth as possible and
Hit all those milestones, right?
yes, no missteps. So I would take a motion.
I will move that the select board, in accordance with 963 CMR 2.0, appoint Andrew McDevitt to the school building committee for the Kittredge School.
I have a motion. I'll take a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Can't wait for those updates. Our next item is relating to 400 Great Pond Road, and we are going to look at the charge and membership of the steering committee for what is going to happen with that space. So the information is in your packet, and I will look to you.
Sure, I'm so excited about this. So if you remember correctly, at town meeting, we agreed when we did the motion to purchase this property that we would create a steering committee to help make decisions on the potential reuse or different use that may come about. So this charge is charging this committee with recommending the reuse of the town-owned property at 400 Great Pond Road by March 4th, 2023. It is requiring the town manager to place a warrant article on town meeting 2023 as a placeholder for any funding necessary to initiate the reuse that's recommended and approved by the select board. And also, if necessary, to do an application for community preservation funds. The reuse committee is required to do survey tools, such as our flash vote, in order to best understand community needs and wants regarding the property's reuse. One of the things that we've struggled with in the past is when a committee ends. So this is going to be expiring at the conclusion of May 2023 town meeting, which means that they'll be able to make their recommendation, see that recommendation through at town meeting, but could be reconstituted by you just by a vote. And so the board will be comprised of a public safety liaison, which Chief Ware has said he would like to fill. The director of public works are their designee, the facilities director, the planning director, the harbor master, which is Peter Boynton, the planning board chair, his designee, and Eitan has signaled to me that he would like that to be John Simons. The historical commission chair or her designee, select board representative, and then I had written one at-large member, but I did hear from one of you today that they'd like 2 at-large members, which is fine with me. Let me just count. Does that give us an even number? Because that's always nerve-wracking. 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay. Well, no, that would give us 9, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh, yeah,
6.
that would make 10.
That would make 10. So, that's okay. We'll make it work. What's the chance we'll have a 5-5, right?
That's right.
All right.
Would you go
I like your
would you
spirit.
go to 3 at-large members?
I'd be happy to if you think we could fill it.
The last thing I want is for people to think that we didn't have resident input on
Yes,
this.
of course.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little light on resident
You know,
input with just one at-large member,
yeah.
so I think,
Yeah, we definitely can.
I mean, at the end of the day, like Peter and John, they're
The
residents.
harbor master, the historical
They're-
commission chair.
they're all
those are
residents, but they serve on boards, and I just think that maybe
Yeah.
people that are not sitting on current boards.
I think 3 at-large members is just fine. That will put us up to 11 people, which means a quorum would be 6. Okay. So the plan would be for you to create the committee, to approve the charge and the membership tonight, and then we would post for these at-large members and start your appointment process at your next 2 meetings, if that works for you.
Okay. Fabulous. If there's no more discussion, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chairman, will the select board approve the charge and membership of the 400 Great Pond Road Steering Committee as presented with the addition of 2 additional at-large members, so a total of 11 members.
Yep, I have a motion. I'll take a second.
A second.
Great. A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Item F. Moving on, our select board fiscal year 24 goals.
Great. So today I did have a conversation with Selectwoman Smedeli with another goal that she was interested in adding to the goal list, which is to explore a design review board. So a design review board, many communities do have, and it's basically an additional layer from the planning board. They usually advise the planning board, and they basically review the aesthetics of a building. So a lot of the time what their focus is on is kind of making sure that things match and they look to character. Right. So, making sure that signs are in compliance with sign by law, but also that they match signs that are also in that neighborhood, that awnings are all the same color, that your pitch of your buildings match, that you have basically aesthetically pleasing view. So that was something that she wanted to add, and I wanted to bring that forward for a discussion.
so that's different than the TRC?
TRC is entirely internal. So when we do a TRC meeting, what we do is we meet with the developer and basically give input on the design to let them know whether or not it conforms with zoning. Sometimes, unfortunately, we'll get a project that does not, and that's a good way for us to kind of let somebody know early on in the project. But this would be definitely more of an external volunteer board.
And what would their authority be, or what would they have in it?
So it would have to be a bylaw. We'd have to create a bylaw and bring it to town meeting. There's many different types of design review boards in all different communities, so I think if we were going to do a study of it, what I would recommend to you is that we assigned it to the planning department, and they basically would come forward with different options and then bring them to you.
Okay, great, so
I'm thinking ahead of myself. This is just to put it on the
This
goals.
is just on your goals.
to
Yeah.
Investigate it, yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Fiscal year
of course,
'24
yeah.
will explore the
Yeah, I'm
option.
thinking, we're appointing a board. No, this is just to start looking
This
at.
is just to look at it.
Would it
Yes,
be,
of course.
would it
And
be
it's a-
another like subcommittee where volunteers submit their application?
It would be
kind of?
another committee, yeah, where you would have volunteers. It'd be created by bylaw. Volunteers would, and typically what you see, and, I mean, most communities that I've seen it in, they basically tell the planning board, you know, this is all the different, this is in conformance, we make these following recommendations, and then it goes into the planning board site plan review so that you have that teeth. But it could be different in other communities, so I think a full review of how it works in other communities would be helpful.
I think one nice thing about it too is we so often, and everybody tries to stay on top of it, but we so often have new businesses come to town. They put up their signs right away, and then they're all in violation because they didn't get their permitting. And they're neon signs, they're oversized. Could maybe be also an attempt to say, you need to bring us your signage, what you're doing, your colors, you know, whether or not you can have neon, which you really aren't supposed to. There's very few cases where it's allowed. So and as Melissa said, there's other communities that do it, and I think there's a way that can do it that everybody benefits. If it all looks pretty and great, then it's better for all the people involved and your neighbors, the commercial zones and stuff like that, that it all just blends it nicely, as long as it's not abused. That's the
So
only thing.
currently, we have certain rules and regulations, especially around signage. So you're thinking this is just like an additional step beyond that? Or
Well, for example, and again, there are laws too. I mean, you know, if somebody wanted to paint their building pink with yellow polka dots, we might just say, perhaps another shade would be best, you know, or we've had, not polka dots, but we've had, in the past, we've had some very strange colors, but just things to just bring harmony and a sense of professionalism about how things are laid out in town. But again, you do have to respect the rights of people with property ownership. There is a line there. Unless you tell me otherwise, Melissa, that if it is accepted at town meeting, once the rules are in place, they're in place. But I don't know if is still a line of, this is my property, or this is what I want to do.
I mean, typically when the zoning's in place, the zoning speaks and you have to adhere to it. Andover has a design review board. It's created by bylaw. It's advisory in nature. Yep. And basically what they do is they review any new applications for new construction, exterior alterations, and large signs in the general business and mixed-use districts, so not residential. And then they review also all new municipal structures, just to make sure that they're in the character of the town.
So, because design is subjective, so what one person likes, one person might not, or one person thinks is in the character of town, one might not. So I'd be curious, and we don't have to shake it all out tonight. I'm just curious how you make up those boards, and are there are sort of the characteristics of the town kind of defined, or is
Usually
it?
it's laid out what the design elements are in the zoning. And then they're basically reviewing, so for instance, right now we're doing the downtown zoning, right? And part of that downtown zoning, as we all know, is to try to create some kind of cohesion, right, to downtown. And so, you know, that's a difficult thing to do because it changes through attrition, right? You don't just have like, hey, everybody's gonna change their zoning, we're all gonna look the same. It's not how it works. So, you know, they work with those buildings to adhere to that new zoning, and a lot of the time, it really is facade oriented, but it typically is laid out in the zoning, and then the design review board reviews it. So they might say, the design review board will look at, say, in my experience, they'll look at a building and they'll say, all right, the pitch of that roof is actually not what was anticipated by the zoning. It's actually supposed to be this colonial pitch. And that's kind of where the adhesion comes from.
Who is generally the makeup of the design review board? Is that town staff? Is that
No,
planning board?
it's all volunteers.
All volunteers.
Yeah, and they usually, like I said, the ones that I have seen typically advise the planning board. So they're not making any decisions, but they're advising the planning board, we reviewed this application, and design-wise, it is in concert with the zoning. That's typically what I have seen.
So could we make our goal for fiscal year '24 that we receive a report about how this would, different options and what it would be like and what it would mean? Seems like something we should proceed with caution and make sure we do a really good job hashing it out.
I think when it's done well, it works really well.
Totally, which is why it's
Like, I don't know
worth
if any of
taking-
you have ever been in it, it's gone now, that it was behind Home Goods in Reading, and somebody took a ship and laid it on the ground, and that was their house. There was a ship in the neighborhood. And I think it became kind of an attraction, but that would be something like, that just might not work in certain neighborhoods. Some people might think it's great if it's kind of off to itself, but it was literally a ship that was on land.
Right, but that goes back to private property, right, and what you're allowed to.
Well,
Yeah.
I get that piece
Yeah.
as well, but,
So how would it work in conjunction with like the historic committee, the old center committee and
We
the,
have all of these, like,
yeah, and then
pieces.
the Machine Shop Village group committee? How do, would this be yet another layer that they would have to go through? So you go through this design review board, then you go through the Machine Shop Village board, or would that, I guess it's all part of the study, right? How they would all work
But
in
technically, so
concert with each other.
Which sections of town it would.
Right. Or is it
Covered,
just
right?
commercial? A lot
Right,
of
is
communities
it
it's
just-
just
yes,
commercial.
that seems,
Yeah.
You know, I love on our goals when we have a good achievable deliverable,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's good to
A
have.
report is a good.
That's my favorite, right? It's like, all right, we actually can do this year. So I think, the study and then completing a report, reporting out to you is probably a good achievable goal. Because if we do that, right, and we report out to you before the end of fiscal year '24, it will, or even mid fiscal year '24, and the board does decide they want to move forward, it is going to require a lot of education, because people do, if you remember when we rolled out the stretch code, right, which was all those environmental repairs that contractors were required to do, people were kind of freaked out, right, because they were like, oh my goodness, there's all these things we now have to do that we didn't have to do before. So I think this is going to require some education on what it actually is and what its jurisdiction would be, so more than just the typical bylaws. So I think that would be a very realistic deliverable for next year, if the board wanted to include it.
sure, we can.
Okay.
include it, yeah. Great,
I
so-
think some of those areas, though, are that's almost like in stone anyways, especially Machine Shop Village, because they do have some pretty clear regulations that the front view, like if you have windows 3/3 or something like that in your existing house, but you want to change them because they're getting old, you have to change it to look like it did originally. Those are already kind of baked in, particularly Machine Shop Village, and I think the old center I think everybody kind of knows what that's supposed to look like, and especially right in the heart of the old center. I think what's happening, I have seen some new buildings that have gone up with tremendous signs on their building, enormous. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a little much, but, so it's sort of just,
I think it's a fine line, right, because we don't want to deter businesses, so I think it's worth exploring. I mean, we don't want to make it hard for businesses to come to our community.
no, but we don't want to make
so-
them garish either, especially whatever neighborhood it's in, but
That would fall under our sign bylaw too, right, that we already have?
it should, but boy, that sign, I'm not even going to mention it, but it is, some of you might,
Do you think it's outside of the sign bylaw? We should.
I don't know, it's enormous. It's really enormous. But maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the sign bylaw, we seem to keep running into problems that people go out, they get their new building, they're all excited, they get their rent, they were doing the renovation, and they buy all their signs without checking what they can do and cannot do. And that's really upsetting, because they spent money. Signs are not inexpensive. But anyways, that's just a piece of it. That's a small piece of it. Okay,
That's in
so
our new
sorry.
business, sorry.
It's okay.
Don't we have the handbook for the new business, and, right, directs them to talk with Paul about their signs?
And, yeah, I think we gave them, there's like a punch list
Yeah,
too.
we have a whole punch list.
That you need to do all of this before you move forward, kind of thing.
So I'm gonna add that, and I'm gonna put Rosemary as the select board lead on that one, if that is good with everybody. I just wanna run through these quickly. Some of you did send an email saying I'd like to be the lead on this one, or I'd like to be the lead on that one, so I just wanna make sure I have it correctly. So nobody has signed up for maintain fiscal discipline in AAA bond rating, which is a very exciting one, so I don't know why. So would anyone like to do that one?
That's one I always put on my goal list, so I'll take that one.
All right, perfect, okay. And then for collaboration with the schools to determine capital and fiscal needs for district, which is continue to hold the joint meeting with the finance committee and the school department, completion of feasibility for Kittredge School with MSBA, and completion of design for the middle school, and then also work with the schools on funding for curriculum evaluation, technology, and other needs. We have Laura, who has to be that one. For continued revitalization of downtown, so basically that's continuing with the zoning analysis. Laura had also volunteered for that one as well. No one has volunteered for work with developers to mitigate burdens of large developments in accordance with the master plan.
I will volunteer for that.
Okay. For continued investment in sidewalk maintenance and expansion/expand plowing, Janice had volunteered for that one, but I know that Rosemary is also very interested in the sidewalk maintenance, so I didn't know if you wanted to do that one together, or,
I do have that particular interest in the tree program.
okay, I have you on the tree one.
And it kind of ties together, but I certainly wouldn't mind more than one of us being
Yeah,
on
we
the
can do it
sidewalk.
together, that's
Yeah.
okay.
No, I think that it's important just to keep it on track.
Agreed.
and-
So for the pilots with Merrimack College, Brooks School, and review the pilot with North Andover Housing Authority, we have Laura. For Facilities Master Plan 2 generally, we had Janice, who had signed up for that, okay. For review and make progress towards 40B was also Janice.
Yes.
For Route 114 improvements to the economic development, no one had signed up,
I'll take that.
okay. For I skipped one. Expand the use and availability on renewable energy for municipal departments.
I would happily take that.
Okay. Develop a plan for use of funds from the American Rescue Plan, which is basically implementation of our final portion. Nobody had signed up for that one yet.
I'll take that.
Okay. Dick had signed up for all the IT ones.
Yeah.
That's fine, he can have one.
Yep. The rest of us couldn't understand what they meant, so it was good that Dick took those. Implementation of plan for 400 Great Pond Road, Dick had asked for that one as well. Okay. To continue to invest in road paving and implement our new 5-year plan.
I would take that happily.
Okay. Who would like to be improve relationship with Merrimack College?
I'll take that.
Okay.
Can we both take that? Sure. Okay.
Rosemary has established tree planting replacement program, address possible dead trees on town property. Yeah, okay. Dick, did you want explore options for a dog park? Okay. Rosemary, I believe yours was continue to investigate areas for open space, update the open space plan?
I think that was mine.
That was yours?
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
Okay.
when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay.
Okay,
Sure.
But
No, if you want it, that's fine.
up to you two.
I'll be working on the dog park, so we will have to work together.
two of your loves,
Yeah.
trails and dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, and then Dick, you had put forward invest in training, equipment, and staffing for departments?
Yeah, that's always one of my goals, is to, continue training and ensure that, the staff gets the training they need to be able to do their jobs.
Okay, and then Rosemary, you had explore sound barriers from Route 495?
Yeah, this goes back decades and decades ago, before I was just a little girl, but is when they brought 495 in. And you go down these major highways, and there are sound barriers for all different neighborhoods, and we don't have it for ours. And that sound carries, I don't know if you ever hear it, Laura, but you can hear it from the library neighborhood. And particularly in the summer, too, when the cars are racing, the motorcycles are racing. And I don't know if it would make a difference, but sometimes when they're having big concerts, in South Lawrence that are going to literally 1 o'clock in the morning. It would be nice to have some kind of a barrier for sound.
And I know our state legislators had put this in as an earmark. Unfortunately, I think that bill did not go forward. But it might be a great time for us to, since it's kind of been in the forefront, it's a good time for us to, I think, explore it again, so.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we can make an argument saying, you know, it's, many other communities have it, and ours did not, and I would make an argument that some of the communities that do have it are a slightly higher rent district than our community is, but it affects a good portion of the greater downtown, and I do mean greater. I mean, Laura and I can testify to that. Can you hear it?
I don't know if that's what I'm hearing, but I hear it.
Especially if it's rainy, because it amplifies the sound.
Ah, okay. That's interesting.
But,
Okay, so we're going to assign that one to you, Rosemary.
okay, well, okay.
We'll get on it.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, we need help with
Yep.
the State House on that one.
We
but-
will.
Can I join Dick with the dog park? Because I had brought that forward.
Because a new puppy wants to try it out.
Of course.
Okay. All right, so I think we're good then. And so we will update these as reflected tonight. And then what I would recommend for this one and for the liaison assignments is that we just revisit in March when we have our newly elected person, so that they have some responsibilities too. Because you guys are taking.
I don't like one.
Yeah.
Find out what you don't like. Move over. Try
Yeah,
them all.
but you are all taking on extra right now, so I just want to be cognizant of that. Thank you. So we can move to, if we're all good, we can move to the select board, approve the FY '24 goals as presented and amended tonight, since we have a new one.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved, it just says the town manager mentioned.
I'll second.
Stated it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here we go. Item G is our select board liaison assignments, so.
I didn't have anything connected.
I didn't
have
either.
a
There
link.
was
Oh, so they added it late today, which I think maybe isn't why.
Did you get email?
I think she may have just updated on the calendar, but I can read them. So what
Okay.
we basically did was we took all the ones you already had, and then we took the other person and we gave you more. So you're welcome.
Sounds good.
But I figured rather than go through kind of the whole process of everybody getting reassigned now, when we're going to do it again in just a few months. So Dick, you would have Board of Assessors, Commission on Disabilities, Conservation Commission, Emergency Management, Library Trustees, Old Center Historic District, Poet Laureate Committee, and Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay.
It's a big group. Laura, you would have School Committee, Youth and Rec, which you shared with Janice this year. Or you both have requested, maybe you didn't share. Community Preservation, Sustainability, Planning, Finance Committee, Board of Health. Rosemary, you would have Festival Committee, Historical Commission, the Stevens Estate Advisory Committees, which now I don't think are any longer, so we probably could remove those. The Middle School Field Improvement Committee, the Neighborhood Conservation District, and the Patriotic Observance Committee. Is that right? And then Janice, you had Affordable Housing Trust, Council on Aging, the Cable TV Advisory Committee, and I think you
It's
and
CPC.
Laura have to fight it out for CPC and Youth and Recreation Council.
That's fine. We can fight it out.
And then
me
again,
to
in
take
March,
the
I think we
CPC
come back to
and
these
you
and
can
try to
take
take some of the
the
load off,
okay.
because you do all have quite a bit right now. Yeah.
We've figured it out. I'll take CPC and she can take youth and rec.
Okay.
And I think I have the master plan implementation committee too, as I was
Because you were just
reminded,
appointed.
as I was
Yes.
reminded by Stan tonight, and he also reminded me I didn't go to the meeting the other
Uh-oh.
night, so
Okay. So Dick, do you feel that you may have too many?
I think I do have too many.
Would you like to hand some off? So Dick has Master Plan Implementation Committee. If he was just assigned the liaison, if he was just assigned the goal of 400 Great Pond Road, I'm assuming that he may be your select board appointment to that committee. So maybe we should take one of Dick's bigger ones and move it to someone else, which I would recommend is either Board of Assessors, Concom, or ZBA.
I would take Board of Assessors because they're kind of in line with what I
Yeah,
do.
that's good.
That's a good
And,
idea. Okay,
I'd kind of like to hang on to ZBA.
okay,
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's what you've done.
okay. Do
Okay.
want to hang on to library trustees too, or would you like to?
Well, that's another one of Stan's.
Steve's really, he's monopolizing all your time.
I know.
I don't know.
Maybe we'll hand that one off.
Do someone else
If I
want to
miss a
take?
meeting, Stan's on me.
Yeah, does somebody else want to take library?
I'll take it.
Okay, all right, so,
All right, Stan, you're gonna have to get me
As
caught up.
amended. Yep, you have to drive the new bookmobile. We didn't tell you that.
I
but
can't
that was in
wait,
the- That was in the fine print,
I cannot get
so
them. Bring me the book. Yep.
we need to get
We
your
might
CD
sell
out.
ice cream.
Don't get anything on that page.
Nope.
All right, so we can move that the select board approve the board liaisons as amended, and again, we'll revisit them in March.
Okay.
And could you get us a clean copy? of
I
what
absolutely will,
Thank
yeah,
you.
so everyone knows what they're
'Cause yeah,
responsible for.
Towards the end, I was like, oh my gosh,
And we'll
what do I
revisit
have?
again.
Yeah.
So-
And again, I do appreciate you all taking on extra, I know it's a lot.
Cultural council, do you, or do I?
Who has
Cultural Council?
I used to have it, I didn't,
I don't see it on this list,
That's funny. I think you had it.
I
for
had it
sure.
for a while,
so we
yeah.
want to add it back onto you?
It's not a heavy lift.
No, it's not,
No,
I
it's a
just
good one.
didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And I thought I had it.
Yeah, it's not on here.
But I
can take it.
appreciate that the Council on Aging became difficult for me because they have meetings early on Tuesday mornings,
Yeah.
and I have business obligations on Tuesday mornings. So I was just kind of kept in touch with as much as I could. But, so thank you for picking that one up.
Great.
Okay, so with,
I think, okay.
you have one
Right.
more.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So I will take a motion.
Move the select board approve the board liaisons as presented and amended this evening.
I'll take-
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you all. We're all gonna be very busy.
Very busy, thank
I'm
you.
gonna need to get a big calendar. Okay, item H is the request of Eli Gallaudet of the Eastern Mass Nordic to use Milk, Johnson, Ray, and Chestnut Streets for a roller ski training race on October 23rd from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Thank you. This application is in order. Finally, this is the third year I Googled what a roller ski was. And it's amazing.
It's really cool
Yeah.
to see.
So I was very excited. But the application is in order. We haven't had any issues in the past at all. It's usually only between 20 to 30 competitors.
They asked for a cruiser. Is
At
that
Johnson
something
Street.
that they just
And they will
coordinate?
organize that with the
Yeah,
police. Yeah.
okay.
Maybe next time they can update their cover letter too. It's still dated 2020 and addresses Chief McCarthy.
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh.
You're right, both of them are. One to me too.
I will move that the select board approve the request of Eli Gallaudet of Eastern Mass Nordic to use Milk, Johnson, Ray, and Chestnut Streets for a roller ski training race on October 23rd, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Now I need to remember to go out and watch it because it's really fun.
I've never seen it. All the years we've done it, I've never seen
I'm
it.
gonna walk the dog out there and watch it. Okay, item I is the appointment of poll workers. So we have reached that time of year and.
We just have 4 additional, so,
Adding?
yeah, as you know, we typically appoint them in August. We've had these 4 new people come on, which is very exciting, for we're moving into our heavy election season, and so we just need to add them in.
Okay. I
Make a
would,
motion that we appoint Herman Benson, Mark Atwater, Matthew Cannell, and Lynn Hardwood as poll workers. Do they have a date?
No, we just reappoint, so it's till next August, and then we do it
Okay.
again, yeah.
Okay, so that'll be my motion then.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we thank all of our poll workers. They're very important.
And busy this year.
And
Very
yes.
busy.
Moving on to our consent items. Item A is to accept donation to the youth center in the amount of $12,050 from the Joseph N. Herman Youth Center, Inc. for scholarships. So, seems pretty self-explanatory. Any discussion?
I'll move the select board accept the donation of the Joseph N. Herman Youth Center, Inc. in the amount of $12,050 for scholarships, and with our thanks
Yes.
for that.
They do so much for our youth. I will second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. Our next item is the approval of minutes from the open session of September 12th, 2022. Did everybody get a chance to look? I did see that Chris Nobley's name was listed at the very top as in
All right, I'll have
attendance, so
them
we'll
do
just,
Okay,
that was the only thing I noticed.
all right, I'll have them fix that.
Okay,
Thank you for,
sure.
He wasn't here.
So, and that's it for amendments. I mean, he may have been here in spirit, but
Madam
So-
Chair, I'll move approval with that correction.
okay. I have a motion. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you. Moving on to old business. What do you have for us?
no old business, but I'm happy to do my town manager's
Great,
report if you'd like that.
perfect.
Okay. So just a reminder that the fire department is having an open house on October 8th. And then the very exciting news that our municipal electrical aggregation rate will be lower than National Grid's rate starting November 1st, and we know at least through April. So we have signed a contract that takes us from October to May at the rate of 0.25710. We know that National Grid's rate from November to April, just approved on last Friday, is 0.33891. So our rate will be lower for the winter months and into the spring.
And that was effective in October, so.
So it'll be effective November, what we want to do is November 1st. We want people to switch on November 1st. This is a little complicated and
It's really
confusing, I know. And then we also have logged in for a June to October rate, which we know is 0.12560. We do not know what the National Grid rate will be then. So to everyone's house will be the postcard again. About 1,400 people opted out when their rate was better than our rate. So those 1,400 people will get an additional postcard, just saying, hey, opt back in. We also have created with Sarah a very user-friendly, easy, guess what? The town rate is now lower, go opt back in platform. We will put that at the senior center again like we did last time and push it out. I just spoke to Brian when I first got here. I'll go down there next week and just walk people through how to opt back in. They did say, if you remember correctly, when we went through the opt-out period, that they could take up to 30 days to get back into the swing of things. We do know that most people in North Andover have a read date that's towards the end of the month. So our timing is actually probably better than other communities. But the good news is that our rate, again, will be lower, pretty significantly lower than National Grid. And so we're encouraging people, if you did opt out, opt back in.
But not too soon.
But not too soon.
And not too late.
Yeah.
Does the 1,400, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, does the 1,400 include businesses?
The 1,400 is everybody who
did
made the
it,
decision
okay.
to call and opt out. Yeah, only 1,400 people opted out.
And it will be, I am guessing, similar to last time where you can opt in online also?
You
Like,
can
that
opt
was
in
super
online, you
easy.
can call, you can come to my office
I
and we'll
know,
help
but
you.
I know you
Yeah.
will. I know you will.
Many
Yeah,
people
live.
have come in, yep, and we've been helping them opt in and out. And actually, we got quite a few phone calls this week because I think people are seeing in the
People saw
news,
the
right,
rates.
that the national grid rate is going to be so high, and they're hoping our rate is lower. And the good news is that it is lower. So we've gotten some really nice phone calls this week of people who are like, "Thank you so much. This is so exciting." So
We only could work on the gasoline, because that's supposed to be going
that
up.
would be nice, wouldn't it?
So my comment was, can we have like a clinic I heard all the things you said, that people come to your office and this, but maybe like some
Yeah.
type of a help session at the senior center that will
absolutely.
help people opt back in? Because that's one of the things we hear, when Laura and I interview people for Council on Aging, is that, there's a gap there. There's a gap in, reaching out to the seniors that don't have, they're not technologically, adept to do these kind of things. They don't see the cable announcements, they don't see, emails and things like that, so.
Well, hopefully they get the 2 postcards. I think the problem with, I know for me, when the mail comes in, I don't always get a chance to read it, right? Or it's shoved in with all the Christmas tree shop ads. But, we certainly can do a class on there. And like I said, we've had so many people who've just stopped in the office. And I hear Jillian, working with them all day, which is great. Or people who have just called and she's like, "Oh, let me go on right now and I'll opt you out." So it's been a good process. But we definitely want to make sure that we target those 1,400 people and say, "Hey, get back in, or it's going to be burdensome to you." The other thing that we are doing, just related to the rates, is Laurie particularly has been trying to work with National Grid to see if there's anything that we can do using ARPA funds to help offset these additional costs for people. And so that's something that we are working on now and hope to be bringing to the board over the next month or so.
Great.
So.
Okay. Updates from you guys?
I have 2. It is North Andover wreath time again. You will probably get information through social media. We usually put it in the tax bill newsletter, but we had switched companies, and for whatever reason, it didn't get in or get out in time. But you will see it on social media. The price is $90. It's a little bit higher because the cost of everything has gone up. They will be deep red bows with gold foil, so to add a little bit more sparkle, similar to what we had last year. And name tags, of course, will be at the bottom. But it's all done on a first-come, first-served basis. The fee, again, is $90, made out to the Holiday Decorating Committee. And if you could get those in with all the information, your name, your address, phone numbers are important, email addresses are important, and then your preferred locations, again, that's on a first-come basis. So that would be Main Street in North Andover, Greater Main Street, going all the way down. It will also be Greater High Street, which is High Street, parts of Water Street, parts of East Water. And the final one is the Greater Old Center. And again, we would ask that you choose the location. I want Main Street, or I want the High Street area. Some people actually put Main Street on this particular pole, that particular pole, and that can be difficult because they do sell out quickly. And if you could mail your check made out, again, to the Holiday Decorating Committee for $90, with all that information, you can get that information too online, probably on the town's website, of all the things that I just asked for. Please print carefully. You'd be shocked at how many times you can't read it. And get it in as soon as possible. And mail it to 65 Green Street in North Andover, or give me a call. I'm in the book. I can help you out.
Is there a way for people to pay online, or no?
We don't have that.
No, okay.
Mainly also because it's difficult to know if there's any more, or if they only really wanted one certain location. That's no longer available, so we haven't done that. We've thought about doing that, but it's we're not quite there yet. One more thing that I wanted to share with you, because I just think it's a great thing to share, and many people in town do know about it. The North Andover Women's Club, we did this last year, and it has expanded. We are making donations. Last year we made it to North Andover Knights Closet, which is a middle school project where the money goes to helping kids whose families are struggling with maybe a nice new outfit so they can feel pretty good about themselves and going to school and so forth and so on. But that program is also expanded to the high school. So you can donate to the North Andover Middle School with whatever amount. I think sometimes they even take really good-looking clothes that are in good shape, maybe still have tags on or whatever, or money. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's such a wonderful cause, and literally there's lots of happy tears when these kids get in and get something rather special to wear.
They ask sometimes too for things like backpacks and stuff like, they usually have a list of requests.
They do, but I thought,
it's nice to be able
I really
to.
wanted to bring this forward at the school committee meeting, but just didn't get around to doing that. We were out of town and a couple other things, but just to bring notoriety to this wonderful, wonderful project. And any amount, I am sure, is welcome. So if you just only can give a little, that's great too. I'm not running it, but the North Andover Women's Club, we really love the project, and we've expanded our donation this year. So please keep that in mind. And it's boys and girls. So that's it.
Okay.
That's it for me.
My only comment was, I think last week was the last week of the farmer's market.
It was.
So just, again,
Nice
thank
day.
you to all of the volunteers and all of the vendors that, a tremendous year. Did you actually miss any days because of weather? Every day?
Yes, we had to cancel one because
Oh,
it
yes,
was
that's
too
right, I remember that.
hot.
It was
It
way
was too hot, yeah.
No one was
But
buying
other
fish
than-
that
100
day.
degrees.
Other than that, it was a tremendous success again, as usual, and a really great addition to the community to have that there. So
I
thank
will
you.
piggyback on that, my gratitude for all of the volunteers, the town employees who volunteered, and everybody else, the residents who showed up week after week. It's a long season. It was very successful, and again, we can't do it without our volunteers, so thank you.
We haven't met since the fall festival, right? There was another, was that?
Did we meet right after that? No.
No, I don't think we did.
Right.
Yeah, so that was another,
Yeah.
the merchants put on a wonderful fall festival again, with lots of vendors, and it was a beautiful day for it.
And it was a huge success from what I understand. People were really happy to be out.
Oh, we met right after, did we? I can't remember.
So, okay. With that, if there are no more updates, I will plan to see you all on Tuesday, October 11th, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion?
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?